was who he was and needed the women that he was with to represent him in a certain way. But would he have been different if I could have said, "Don't do that. I don't like it"?
At the age of 78, veteran star Sally Field stunned Hollywood when, in a conversation with Variety, she admitted that she once longed for 7 male actors and was willing to let them do whatever they wanted. These were not only legendary faces of the silver screen, but also men whose private lives were filled with controversies. Some were left by their wives for having excessive needs. Others were entangled in multiple relationships outside of marriage, and even one icon was rumored to have had close ties with a fellow male actor to satisfy unusual curiosity. It was precisely these darker sides that became a mysterious magnet, making Sally both tremble and unable to resist. So, who were the 7 men that shook her heart so deeply, and what fate would Sally face if she gave in to them? Chapter 1. Clint Eastwood, the silent cowboy with formidable endurance behind the scenes. In a 1998 Vanity Fair interview, Sally Field laughed when mentioning Clint Eastwood. "He doesn't need to say anything. Just standing there silently, I already felt like I wanted to walk closer." It sounded like a joke, but it was a confession from a woman who once stood before an immortal cowboy, a man whose silence alone could make a whole room tense. Clint of the 1970s was the archetype of masculinity that Hollywood admired. Standing over 6'3" with broad shoulders and a straight back, his slow walk radiated authority. His frame was like a chilled Budweiser bottle in the Mojave Desert, compact, solid, and cool, needing no display to make others want to reach out. On screen, whether in the faded poncho of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, or the sharp suit of Dirty Harry, he became the definition of danger mixed with allure. Yet behind that icy exterior was a tangled love life almost impossible to believe. Clint married Maggie Johnson in 1953, but just 7 years later, the Los Angeles Times revealed his secret affair with dancer Roxanne Tunis. Their hidden relationship lasted more than a decade alongside his legal marriage. By the 1970s, Hollywood was nearly overwhelmed as the list of women tied to Clint grew longer. Journalist Rex Reed of the New York Post listed names like Sandra Locke, Gia Scala, Anita Loust, and hinted at many more short-lived liaisons never made public. By 1975, people bluntly labeled Clint as the man who could never be faithful. That same year, CBS's 60 Minutes aired a special report revealing that he had maintained at least 5 relationships simultaneously. This instantly made him the center of gossip, a star both powerful and untamed who seemed to treat marriage vows as a fragile mask. Former partners were also unafraid to speak out. Sandra Locke, who was with Clint for over a decade, published a memoir in 1997, claiming that he could prolong affairs to the point where women felt both exhausted and unable to break free. After their split, Locke sued Clint over property disputes and career sabotage, turning their breakup into one of the loudest scandals of the 1990s. On Vanity Fair, Locke bitterly wrote Clint always stayed silent in public, but it was that very silence that made women collapse. For Sally Field, Clint was an irresistible paradox, calm on the outside but a smoldering volcano within. She once told the Los Angeles Times, "I knew well that if Clint had beckoned me back, then I would have gone immediately. No script, no lines." Sally was enthralled by that restraint, by a man who promised nothing, said little, but made women willingly step into his arms. The contradiction between his cold, steel-like surface and his fiery personal life made Clint an overwhelming temptation for Sally. She understood that behind those half-closed eyes was an enduring force from which one could hardly escape once entangled. That was exactly why Sally once longed for a night with Clint, not for safety, but to touch the raw energy hidden within him. Chapter 2. Dustin Hoffman, the difficult man who made Sally both fearful and curious. In the 1970s and 1980s, Dustin Hoffman rose as one of Hollywood's finest actors, but also as a name that unnerved many co-stars. He lacked Clint Eastwood's towering height or Paul Newman's elegance. Standing only 5'6" with a rugged face, Hoffman had deep black eyes that felt like blades cutting through people's defenses. That gaze often made Sally Field admit she felt as if her secrets were stripped bare whenever she stood near him. Hoffman's perfectionism and intensity became legendary. In Kramer vs. Kramer 1979, he famously pressured Meryl Streep into crying genuinely on camera by deliberately provoking her. Director Robert Benton told Variety, "Dustin wouldn't accept pretense. He pushed you to the edge until you broke open." While many colleagues resented this for Sally, it sparked an inexplicable curiosity. In the 1980s, Sally attended theater workshops in New York where Hoffman also appeared. She recalled the unsettling feeling when he stared at her. Part of her wanted to slap him. The other part wanted to see what would happen if she let him lead. She told the Los Angeles Times, "Half of me wanted to strike him. Half of me wanted to know what would happen if I gave in." Off-screen, Hoffman's personal life was just as stormy. He married Ann Byrne in 1969, but rumors of affairs soon arose. In 1976, the New York Post exposed his alleged secret meetings with actress Lisa Gottlieb after they were spotted leaving a Manhattan apartment late at night. By 1980, he divorced Ann and married Lisa Gottsagen, but tabloids still whispered about his special connection with co-star Jessica Lange in Tootsie 1982. Rolling Stone even claimed Hoffman and Lange created a tension beyond the screen impossible to explain. After the divorce, Ann Byrne sued for assets, accusing Hoffman of concealing contracts and royalties. Vanity Fair reported in 1983 that her lawyer described him as a master on screen but manipulative off it. Though the case settled quietly, Hoffman's reputation for never backing down was reinforced. He also clashed with the media. In a 1985 60 Minutes interview, he argued fiercely with Mike Wallace over personal questions. Wallace later remarked, "Hoffman makes women both fascinated and afraid. No one knows when they'll be swept into an emotional storm." For Sally Field, this was both a warning and a spark. She was familiar with James Garner's warmth, Burt Reynolds' wild energy, or Clint Eastwood's calm. But Hoffman offered a psychological challenge, unlike any other, unsafe, unyielding, constantly pushing boundaries. Sally admitted, "There was something about Dustin I couldn't shake. He forced me to be real in a terrifying way, and that shook me." That very extremity made Hoffman a strange temptation for her. She disliked him yet longed to test him just to know whether he was as overwhelming in real life as he was when driving his co-stars to their limits. Chapter 3. Gregory Peck, the stern gentleman who made Sally want to surrender completely, among the 7 men who stirred Sally Field's heart. Gregory Peck stood out not as a reckless fling, but as a symbol of total surrender. The legend of To Kill a Mockingbird needed no display or chase. His calm gaze and composed demeanor commanded both Hollywood's respect and Sally's quiet admiration. Peck embodied the golden age ideal of American manhood. Nearly 6'3", upright with broad shoulders and sharp features set off by cool gray-blue eyes, he exuded authority. Photographer Felipe Halsman once remarked in Life magazine 1958, "Peck entered the frame like a king, and everyone instinctively stepped aside." Always clad in gray suits with neat ties, Chesterfield cigarettes, and Scotch whiskey nearby, every detail reinforced his image as an irreplaceable American gentleman. On screen, his defining role was Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird 1962, which earned him an Oscar and cemented him as a moral standard. Critic Pauline Kael wrote in The New Yorker, "Peck didn't just act, he lived like Atticus Finch." His silence carried as much weight as a speech, but beneath the model image was a complex, private life. In 1942, he married Greta Kukkonen, a gentle Finnish woman, and had 3 children. But in 1953, while promoting a film in Paris, he met French journalist Véronique Pisani. Captivated immediately, he divorced Greta within a year and married Véronique. French and American media were stunned. Le Monde called it a lightning strike that shocked America. Before Gregory Peck had already sparked rumors with Audrey Hepburn after Roman Holiday, 1953. Director William Wyler later admitted in 1976, "I couldn't stop them from looking at each other that way." That wasn't acting, it was real. There were also whispers of a connection with Ingrid Bergman in the 1950s. Though evidence was scarce, gossip persisted. Greta's divorce also stirred legal disputes with reports that she accused Peck of hiding assets. Despite all this, Peck never defended himself publicly. His silence only deepened his aura of mystery. As one Variety journalist wrote, Peck was silent as granite, and that very silence made women want to keep discovering him. Sally experienced this firsthand. At a 1987 charity event in Los Angeles, Peck simply placed his hand gently over hers. She later admitted, "He didn't need to say anything, just one touch, and I felt like I belonged to him." Unlike her turbulent feelings for Reynolds or Eastwood with Peck, she confessed a desire to give in completely, not from curiosity or recklessness, but from a profound sense of surrender. Chapter 4. James Garner, the warm gentleman who drew Sally into a whirl of passion. To America, James Garner was long seen as the epitome of charm, a loyal husband to Lois Clark since 1956. Yet, behind that seemingly serene marriage were waves of rumors that often rocked Hollywood. These contradictions explain why Sally Field, usually reserved about her personal life, openly admitted that at times she wished to be with Garner, even if just for one fleeting night. Back in 1963, while filming The Great Escape in Germany, Daily Mail published blurry photos of Garner leaving his Munich hotel with actress Elga Anderson. At that time, Garner was hailed as America's model husband, so the report shocked fans. MGM held a press conference, and Garner brushed it off. "I just had dinner, don't exaggerate." Still, European tabloids sneered, "A perfect American gentleman." Not really. By 1971, fresh storms erupted when Los Angeles Free Press investigated alleged late-night encounters between Garner and singer-actress Connie Stevens at Chateau Marmont. His management denied everything, but soon after, CBS's 60 Minutes revisited the claims, shaking his image further. In the 1980s, the rumors only intensified. While filming Murphy's romance 1985, whispers spread about Garner and Sally's undeniable chemistry. Journalist Rex Reed recalled how a hugging scene lasted so long that director Martin Ritt had to cut multiple times. Crew members laughed, but Sally blushed and grew visibly flustered. A lighting technician told Entertainment Tonight, "I'd never seen Sally lose composure like that." Clearly, something beyond the script was happening. Tabloids soon claimed they were seen slipping away together late at night in Phoenix. Though no photos surfaced, the gossip made headlines. Even more tantalizing were persistent rumors about Garner's unusual stamina. By the late 1970s, whispers circulated among female co-stars. In 1986, People magazine published a piece titled "Iron Gentleman," hinting at his extraordinary endurance in romance. A former crew assistant told Larry King Live, "I'd never seen Sally laugh so much during those months." People said Garner had a way of making women feel like the only one even when the cameras were off. For Lois Clark, his wife, it was an unhealed wound. Vanity Fair in 1995 quoted a friend of Lois saying she once burst into tears at a charity event when asked about Garner and a younger actress. Lois stayed silent, but her silence only fueled curiosity. For Sally, the sweetness, The behind-the-scenes moments and the daring rumors made Garner an irresistible temptation. In a 1993 Los Angeles Times interview, she admitted, "There were times I forgot I was acting. I just wished he wouldn't let go." This paradox, both safe and risky, made Garner the gentleman who nearly made Sally want to abandon everything. 5. Burt Reynolds, the global icon who never slept alone. In the 1970s, America nearly went wild for Burt Reynolds. With his thick mustache, half-playful gaze, cocky smile, and strong physique built from years of football, he became the dream man of millions of women. In 1972, Cosmopolitan shocked the world by publishing Burt's daring photo lying on a bearskin rug, an image considered one of the boldest moments in magazine history. After that, he consistently topped Sexiest Man Alive lists, and his name became inseparable from the explosion of pop culture. But the more famous Burt grew, the more romantic entanglements followed. In 1972, the New York Post reported that Burt had been spotted leaving the Plaza Hotel with actress Jill Clayburgh, while he was still deeply involved with veteran singer Dinah Shore, who was 20 years older than him. Dinah chose to ignore it, but the public began calling Burt the man who would never settle down. By the mid-1970s, the Los Angeles Times ran a full investigative series on Burt Reynolds' complicated love life, listing a string of names: Adrienne Barbeau, Tammy Wynette, Catherine Deneuve, and even European models he met on lavish vacations. One journalist joked Burt's list of companions is as long as the phone book of Beverly Hills. The peak came in 1981 when National Enquirer published photos of Burt enjoying a yacht in Miami with 3 young models. Dinah Shore finally ended things, and Burt quickly went public with blonde star Lonnie Anderson. Their 1988 wedding was dubbed the Royal Wedding of Hollywood, but only a few years later, their marriage collapsed in one of the most expensive divorces in Hollywood history. In her legal documents, Lonnie bitterly wrote Burt had needs that no woman could endure for long. That statement cemented his nickname as the star who never slept alone. Amid all this noise, Burt met Sally Field on the set of Smokey and the Bandit in 1977 in Atlanta. From the very first days, he was like a wildfire, impulsive, intense, uncontrollable. He teased Sally in front of dozens of crew members, held her longer than the script required, and in one scene, director Hal Needham had to yell "cut" 3 times. A crew member told Entertainment Tonight, "No one could tell what was acting and what was real." Sally blushed constantly while Burt grinned like he already knew every thought in her mind. Rumors exploded in 1978 when Rex Reed of the New York Post wrote that he saw Burt and Sally leaving the Ritz-Carlton Atlanta early in the morning, dressed casually like a couple after a long night together. The article left Sally overwhelmed, followed by reporters for weeks. When asked, she only said briefly to the Los Angeles Times, "Burt makes me laugh so much I forget myself." Her evasive response only convinced the public more that she had truly fallen into Burt's arms. Few knew that Burt once showed jealousy when hearing rumors about Sally and James Garner during Murphy's romance. A close friend of Burt told Vanity Fair in 1990, he laughed on the surface, but when pouring whiskey, Burt bluntly said, "I don't want anyone touching Sally but me." That jealousy made their bond even more dramatic, like a silent duel between 2 of Hollywood's greats. Burt's allure wasn't just his muscles or smile, but also mysterious whispers. Hollywood circles murmured that Reynolds had endless energy. In 1985, Playgirl published a feature in which an anonymous actress revealed Burt is unlike anyone else. He could extend things to the point where you were both exhausted and addicted. Such stories, combined with his physique and daring nature, made him a temptation few could resist. Sally later admitted in a rare 1986 interview standing next to Burt, "I was no longer an actress, just an ordinary woman. At times I really wanted to try just to know if Burt in real life was as explosive as the stories said." That confession poured fuel on the fire, making the public believe Burt was the only man who could push Sally past her boundaries and make her long for a fleeting night. But after Burt's blazing fire, Sally turned toward a completely different type of man. Not loud, not fiery, but with deep blue eyes and a calm presence that made her tremble. Chapter 6. Paul Newman, the blue eyes that made Sally want to surrender.
I had this very weird way of handling my tension at working with Paul. I wanted it out of the way. The way I combated it.
Just one look from Paul and I forgot everything. I couldn't remember the script, not even the cameras. I only knew my heart was racing like a young girl's. Sally Field confessed to the Los Angeles Times in 1994. Indeed, Newman's appearance was a rare blend of intellect and instinct. He had the calm of a scholar and the strong build of a professional race car driver. With sharp features, piercing blue eyes, broad shoulders, and a straight posture, he stood out anywhere. People called him America's dream, while tabloids boldly declared no woman and not a few men could resist Newman. In Absence of Malice, 1981, Newman shone brilliantly. Director Sidney Pollack told Variety that Sally kept losing focus because of his eyes. A sound technician recalled, once Paul looked at Sally during a dialogue scene and she trembled so much she had to ask for another take. That was no longer acting. But Newman's magnetism wasn't confined to the screen. His first marriage to Jackie Whitty ended in 1958, amid scandal with reports linking him to Natalie Wood, Grace Kelly, and even Marilyn Monroe. The New York Daily News headlined, "The bluest eyes in Hollywood belong to no one woman." More shocking were whispers of close bonds with male colleagues. In 1955, while at the Actors Studio with James Dean Life magazine, hinted at their special closeness, often leaving class together and disappearing for hours. Some classmates claimed Newman once called Dean his soul brother, and the two were nearly inseparable that summer. In the early 1960s, rumors tied Newman to Rock Hudson. Journalist Rex Reed wrote in 1962 that the two often attended private Beverly Hills parties together. Later, Entertainment Tonight replayed an interview where a witness said, "I once saw Paul and Rock splashing around in a Mulholland Drive pool until 3 a.m. The gossip grew louder after Hudson's later revelations. Though Newman built a model image with second wife Joanne Woodward's scandals never fully left him. In a 1988 Vanity Fair interview, Joanne herself admitted Paul is perfect for me, but I can't deny he has an attraction to everyone. That half admission only fueled speculation. For Sally Field, the pull came not from the noise, but from the paradox of restraint. He never flaunted, never spoke much yet. Everyone felt the intense force behind those blue eyes. People once described Paul Newman could spend hours making a woman believe she was the only one. Sally was one of them. In a private conversation, she recalled sitting across from Paul, "I felt trapped. He didn't need to touch me. Just his gaze made me want to let down all defenses." Her words stirred the public, showing she didn't just admire him, but truly longed to experience being near Newman in real life. The combination of surreal beauty, infamous rumors, and the ability to make others lose control turned Newman into a lasting obsession for Sally. In another Los Angeles Times interview in 1993, she bluntly said, "If Paul called me, I'd run to him even knowing the road ahead was covered in broken glass." To Sally, Newman wasn't a distant dream. He was a present reality offering no escape. After Paul Newman, Sally's heart was swept into a completely different storm. This time not restraint, but laughter, madness, and deep sorrow blended together. Chapter 7. Robin Williams, the man whose energy could carry Sally all night. On the set of Mrs. Doubtfire, Night 93. Sally Field first confronted the whirlwind that was Robin Williams. She told the Los Angeles Times he could make the whole crew laugh until they cried. Then, a second later, "Look at me with eyes so deep, I didn't know if I was acting or living." Behind her half-joking words was a truth. Robin was a force both intimidating and irresistibly magnetic. Robin was not just a comic genius. He lived with a big heart, often doing quiet acts of kindness. In 1988, while in San Francisco, he disguised himself as a clown doctor and spent a whole day at UCSF Children's Hospital bringing laughter to sick children. The story only surfaced when a nurse shared it on Good Morning America, moving the nation to tears. In 1991, while filming Hook, Robin regularly joined volunteers in Los Angeles distributing meals to the homeless. ABC News called him a golden heart in a glittering city. He was also a principled artist. After the 9/11 attacks, Robin immediately organized a fundraising show in New York, raising millions for firefighters' families. Journalist Barbara Walters recounted on 2020 Robin cried backstage, but once on stage he made the entire hall roar with laughter. That was his truth, a man who masked his own pain to give others hope. Yet behind his kindness, Robin's personal life was just as complicated as any Hollywood star's. He married Valerie Velarde in 1978 and had a son, but divorced in 1988 after becoming involved with Marcia Garces, his child's former nanny. Just a year later, he married Marcia, and they stayed together over 2 decades before splitting in 2010. Their divorce cost tens of millions, with Vanity Fair calling it one of the costliest legal battles of the decade. Throughout his career, Robin was rumored to have been close to many women in the industry. Rolling Stone in 1987 wrote, "Robin Williams didn't just make women laugh, he made them unforgettable." Names like Michelle Tischer, Elaine Boosler, and even his Mork and Mindy co-star Pam Dauber were whispered about. A friend of Pam's told People Robin had a way of making women feel like the whole world was just them and him. This contradiction, loud jester and quiet listener, made Sally deeply moved. She once said during a Mrs. Doubtfire press conference, "I didn't know how to avoid Robin. He was like electricity. I was both afraid and curious to touch him." Sally longed for Robin, not only because he made her laugh, but also because of whispers about his boundless vitality. An anonymous actress once told Entertainment Tonight, Robin could shift from wild humor to breath-stealing tenderness. That's why women could never walk away. This mix of wildness and kindness made Robin one of the men Sally both admired and craved enough to consider breaking her rules for one dangerous adventure. In the end, the 7 names Sally Field candidly mentioned were not just cinema legends, but living proof of the shadows behind Hollywood's bright lights. Some touched her heart with warmth, others made her tremble with wildness, and some forced her to admit she simply wanted to surrender once. But above all, what audiences remember is not just Sally's confessions, but her courage to live true to her desires even at the age of 78. And you among these 7 legends who left the strongest impression on you, and what do you think Sally truly experienced with them? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell to catch more thrilling hidden stories from Hollywood.